Ah, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, been tough lately. I, I say that because I've kind of been struggling to stay on course, and yeah, it's not been a great state for me. Um, I need to stay focused. I'm losing track. It's not that I'm not staying on topic. It's that I'm overthinking things and getting myself all discombobulated. Is that a thing? Discombobulated? So yeah, I'm. I just like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't know if I can do this. Oh wait, I can't do that without this, and then I need this, and it's like, oh, you got all these little bits and parts that need to be in place, and I keep thinking I've got all these parts in place, but I've only got some parts in place, and then it's like I want to keep moving to the next phase. The next thing needs, oh, but you need this for that. It's like, oh, there's always all these little extra bits and parts. I have no current viewers, no likes, no comments, and we will just hit save and see what happens. We'll have to see how well I stay on topic today. So, okay, here's the same thing I was working on yesterday and probably many times a days before. I've decided I wanted to break up my code a little bit more. I had all of these skills defined, these offensive and defensive skills defined in one file, and it was getting pretty hairy, and I didn't like that. Anytime I start reaching around 500 lines, I feel like it's getting kind of silly. So I took out my defensive plays, which is currently running at about defensive skill calls, and my offensive skill calls. And even this is still up there, but not as bad. And then I'm probably going to have AI help me iron out my flaws, just because there's some problems. I broke out the individual defensive and offensive skill functions into their own profiles. Their defensive stats.go and their offensive. So you know what? I'm gonna rename these. These are too long. Let's just say I'm gonna take player off. I have offensive stats and offensive skills, which are different, and those are actually set actions. These are actually gets. But I'll just say defensive stats. They don't need to be gets. I'll just call them what they are. Okay, so we got defensive stats.go and offensive stats.go. But I have a few syntax issues to resolve in the separation of the will continue handle the and let's see if it'll help me to iron those out, preferably so I don't have to do it. No, yes, I know. Am I being lazy? Maybe. But if AI can fix it faster than me, then I'll do it. I'm not a Go expert. I never claimed to be. I'm getting better, but I'm not by any means a Go expert. I don't. Yes, could I be better if I did more of the work? Maybe, probably, but I also would be taking longer, and I'm more concerned about getting the app done than accelerating my learning. All right, looking on I can see a few syntax issues that can be resolved from the separation. Here are the fixes needed. All right, so defensive stats. I didn't even know I had total touches in here. I do. I don't need total touches in here. Why is this, all right, so we'll copy this. It's not much. All they really didn't do much of anything, I don't think, except I don't need this function. Let's see what it did with the other one. What about offensive? Offensive? Offensive. These are totally offensive stats. Do. Got to get these done today. Get the defensive stats done so I can start doing comparatives, skill checks. Now, writing the function is only part of it. I got to run some. I got to create the data tests too. Oh, it didn't. Replace yak reception. Why did it take out the yak receptions? Yeah, adjusted yak. Oh, really? Yeah. And missing. So you might ask if you've been seeing, I have done a number of streams. I've been doing my streams the last several months, actually since maybe January, the majority of them, for this development project on my other channel, AM Games Dev, and it's slow going to build a new channel, and I've decided to spend more time doing stuff on this channel. Now, what does that mean? It means this channel will probably get a little diluted, a little bit like my Twitch channel, which is pretty much you know, it's all everything. It's pretty much everything I do. I won't say everything. I have another Twitch channel. I just don't use it for very many things. I'm trying to figure out why do I have a duplicate screen showing? Very good question. Why do I have a duplicate screen showing? There we go. Sorry about that. Don't need to see things twice. All right, so let's see what it did. Get offensive. See, and then it goes about doing weird stuff. All right. We have offensive big plays, but most of these I shouldn't have to change at all. Did it even change anything? There's bugs, but it's not really showing me where. I can get rid of the return yards because I'm putting those on the defensive thing. Big plays, fumbles, TDs. Maybe that's the problem. I have duplicates. No, I have things like total plays. Total plays. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what total plays is. Do I have a function that's doing total plays? I mean, there's a lot of total plays, right? There's defensive total plays, offensive total plays. There's uh, just total plays. Could be offense and defensive total plays. I don't know what I'm using that for. Am I using that? Let's go see if I'm even using that. So I got these values. Something I think these general ones I don't have. I don't know where I put those. They're in offensive and defensive stats. I don't need them in both places. I just got to decide which one gets them. If either, um, I'm probably going to have to pull more stats. So I'm thinking I don't really want these to grow. So these might be general stats. Um, Fumbles tend to be offensive, but big plays can be either, right? I mean, you don't generally have fumbles on the offense or on the defense. So probably take fumbles off of there. And although there is, I'm going to take this off too. I think what I'm going to end up doing is breaking these out into a third. I'm going to rename these again. Yeah, the reason I'm renaming them again, this is one of my, I want them together. Get defensive stat, and by putting them with the same prefix, um, then I can copy. So I need to go here, and this one takes out all the offensive specific, reception, reception, reception. Things that don't really, will definitely apply only to offense, which is pretty much all of this stuff. Rush, reception, offensive big plays, which are offensive big plays. Get availability rate, which is a general. We'll leave that one in there. We'll say TDs can be scored by other players. Fumbles can happen with both players. I think I'm just gonna put it in here. So we're gonna go big plays. Everybody can get big plays. I don't know what total plays is gonna be, so I'm taking that out. Long plays tends to be offensive. Longest reception is offense. Longest reception. Long runs, tackles, passes, defense, get forward throws, offense, 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 offense. Targets, total touches, and all this stuff. This could be a pretty small file, but I think there may be more in the future. I'll go back down here. Total plays could be offensive and defensive because I could make it a general, like it's like every play that that person's in, if I can find that, because it's going to add up all the plays that they're in, right? They add up all the plays that they're in. Thing is, the year of my stats that I'm working with, they didn't. I don't believe I had the number of plays a player was in the game. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Um, it's a little bit tough. Snap count. See if there. Let's see if that exists. Ugh. Ugh, stop it. 2009 NFL player snap count. Snap. Mhm. Mhm. Huh. You have trust thread. Anything new? Did you have any luck with this? I believe I'm the exact same. I want to calculate sort of plus minus. Plays participation is now empty. I've tried both D6 and D5 APIs. Can't find. I got snaps data from Pro Football Reference. It's great, but the only drawback is it's season as a whole, cumulative, and not week by week. Snap data. Well, let's go to Pro Football Reference. I'm okay with full season, honestly. Team record in games, completions, attempts. I don't. You see it? Completions, attempts. It's not really snaps. I mean, can get snaps, sort of, but it's harder with defense, right? I mean, it's like, oh, see, these are team. Now, I think it'd do me much good if it's team stats because I'm not trying to find. I want to know how many plays a player actually played in. Dun dun dun. So it's a little trickier. More all Tom. Oh, is this all Tom Brady? Oh, I see. They sorted it by. This is just one player. This is one player. Jeez. 4 throws, percentage bad throws. Still doesn't really show his snap counts. I mean, for him, it's ward sacks. But like, what if I want? What the heck? Advanced rushing, receiving, defense, advanced passing. It just shows defensive interceptions, tackles, and fumbles. It's like it doesn't have any snaps. There's games started, but games or plays participated in would make it so much easier to get a good balance on how a player played in relation to how much they actually played. But or it'd be cool to have defensive positions where the player was actually thrown at them, you know. But it doesn't appear to exist. Game logs, fantasy, career. It's all Tom Brady. I don't want Tom Brady. Seasons, drafts, stat head. Player. It's active grades, award winners, players, consecutive. Not working. Doesn't work. Participation data, NFL verse. Usage. You can download data hosted here. Package or manual download. Access the releases page. Releases are roughly organized along the main functions of NFL Reader. Releases page? Last release was September 3rd. Charting data provided by FTN data, ESPN stats, weekly level rosters via NFL Shield. I don't think that, if that's pretty common, I don't think they're going to have 2009 data. So I'm not going to be able to use that anyway. Darn it. So this one has big plays, fumbles, TDs, and availability rate. So we don't need big plays, fumbles, or TDs in the offensive one. Total plays, I'm going to go ahead and move. I'm going to go ahead and take it. I don't know what it does, what was my logic in the creation thereof, but we'll move it over there. And then this one has brush. Somebody still got big blaze. I gotta get rid of. That total. This one has some stuff. It is not working. Their stats does not seem to be having a problem though. Maybe I'll fill out that one. All right, I think I balanced them out. Okay, so I am going to rename this to just so that they're all next to each other. And then I have my set defensive skills, set general skills, test, which I will have to do. These tests are going to have to exist for all these. So I have to do a defensive test. I have an offensive test. Set up imported players. This one, what is this doing? I don't know what it's doing. Get control modifiers. Oh, these are the functions that are going to be used to to work with other stuff, I guess. All right. Then I have my utility, which is just some functions that I call for the sake of like get games player modifier. This one doing scale value to max. See, that's this is a utility. I tend to use scale value to range, but scale value to max is also a thing. That's actually what I was using in the in my Excel sheet that I created. Min. Definitely a utility. I'm trying to determine how important this thing is. Insert player. Okay, so this is actually going to have functionality. Generate imported player, generates imported player ID, creates unique ID. Okay. And so this is actually more functional. This is actually generating the data, but it doesn't need the utility functions, which will be here instead. I don't even know if I'm using this min function. It was an AI created thing. And I was like, well, there's already a min. Why do I need to create a min? Get rid of that. I don't even think that's in use. So these have problems because they're not finished. Tackles for loss is not a thing. Slowly we get to work them out. Work all the kinks and bugs. Huh. I'm trying to figure out the difference in these two functions and why are we using them both. It's comments. This is capital. Modifier valve has skill control modifier. Modifier type can be general, team, or individual modifier. So we're passing in modifier type. Oh, so this is defining. This is weird. Okay. This is the function that pulls it, and this is the function that sets them up. Not totally sure how this is working because it returns control modifiers, which in turn is what passes around to get control modifiers. So the get control modifiers pulls the list. It basically creates the array of all the modifiers. And then the get control modifier uses the values, the key value pairs with the control modifiers array to pull the individual value out of that array. That's basically what's happening. So one pulls a distinct value from the array, one sets up the array. So they're a little bit different. And this is like set up and then it's passed around to the different functions that are going to be calling it. So that's kind of what's happening with that mess. Now we have my set defensive skills, which are all broken up, but we will work on that. What I'm working on now. I gotta drink some caffeine. My brain is fogging. I'm having a foggy brain day. Maybe from going to bed too late. I think what did I do today? 10 miles on the bike. Didn't run. Thought about running, but I got lazy. I biked, which takes almost as long, over an hour. Don't misunderstand. It doesn't take me 10 miles. It doesn't take me over an hour to ride 10 miles. It did today, but that's because I had to stop for a while and I had my watch on it, so it was miscalculating time. Well, I'm mumbling. Sorry, I'm mumbling. Let's get this done. All right, so you can see I'm slowly getting them processed. What I needed to do the last couple of days was figure out how to get my team values, because I'm building up everybody's rate or skill based on a ratio of their success to the opportunities in which they would have. One of the things I had to do yesterday was come up with a way that players that didn't start, give them a little bit extra credit, because that means they weren't in as often. So I gave them a little bit more, which means they're either down specialists or situation specialists, um, or they're up and coming blah 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 players. So players that are still learning and they just get some opportunities here and there, but they may or may not perform very well. But I give them a little bit of credit as though they were in more plays, to allow them to balance out a little bit better with the other players out there. I still have to figure out. Okay, so there's a key functionality in my game, uh, which a lot of games have, and they all probably handle it different from what I do. Okay, so like Retroball. Retroball has potential. Alexa, turn on desk lamp. I'm sorry, it's driving me nuts to see me. You can save energy by timing your smart lights to turn on or off when you want. Just ask me to turn off the lights in 15 minutes. You can see I look like I'm a ghost. And I'm not a ghost. I am actually very much not a ghost. See, it says that I'm white right there. Well, my skin is really dark. So what's that say? That says my screen is pretty crappy. My camera is not doing a fantastic job of and this is the NVIDIA broadcast, which means NVIDIA is not even doing a good job. Let's see if I can get this fixed. And because it's NVIDIA, I may not be able to edit this, which really sucks. But see, it's not even gonna let me edit this. Okay, so I want to fix this. How do I fix this? Um, oh, look at that. Yeah, my camera went nuts, or my video card went nuts. It's like, whoa, what are you doing, man? And it's even after turning it off, it's like, oh, are you sure you're not gonna torture me anymore? Yeah, yeah, I turned it off. Calm down. Video card. An external graphics card, by the way. Well, I can't. Apparently, I can't edit my. If I swap over to just straight up, I can edit it, but otherwise, I have to deal with the fact that it thinks I'm a ghost. Now this I can change. Yeah, it's a little bit better. At least my skin looks like normal skin. So, it's better than nothing. Ooh, but that's getting a little late. But nope, that's not what I want. And then, yeah, it's not much else I can do with that. No, it's a little better, but I don't think NVIDIA can. Will NVIDIA know if I do that and take it and keep it, or will it still just break? Nah, still doesn't know how to. I can't fix it. If I want it, I have the choice. I can have a nice missing background, or I can have flesh colored flesh. Options? Opinions? It shrinks my screen. I can always fix that, but yeah. So I don't know. Let's go. Let's go ahead and not. Let's go ahead and take the NVIDIA for now. I don't know. I'm not a fan, to say the least, of how much NVIDIA is making me look like a ghost. So I will be traveling over the next couple weeks, um, cross country, not all the way across, but 2/3, and then back again. Trying to make a mess again. Trying. Luckily, I think I failed this time. What time is it? Ugh. So you might be saying, well, how are you gonna stream if you're traveling? I'm not. Won't be much streaming going on during the next week or two. So I expect you'll have to live without I will be working on occasion, but I just don't know that I'll be able to stream. All right, so I need to open up the set defensive skills, set defensive stats. Get tackles, assists. Oh, I didn't do the total. I don't have individual tackles. This too is exceeding my. Huh. I hadn't thought about trying to do that. That's kind of an interesting. Hey, Ronnie Joseph, how you doing, man? What's the latest? Sometimes AI comes up with some ideas that are pretty good. Sometimes it comes up with some ideas that are pretty terrible. And I have to go, what are you doing? That's not going to work. Go away. But then I'll see something that goes, oh, that's interesting. Now, I mean, it's just sometimes it's a matter of it's the name is familiar, but probably not. You'll have to refresh my memory. I'll probably remember you as soon as you tell me what we were talking about when last you were here. There's a names, you know, people come in and disappear and say hi and goodbye, and sometimes I'll chat with them for a while and then they disappear again. And so I don't always remember the names. I'll start to remember them more often. Like I said, your name looks familiar. I just don't remember what our conversation last time was about. And did you change your name? Some people like to throw me off by changing their name. Like they'll come in through Twitch as a name, and then they'll come over to YouTube as a different name, and then other times they'll just change their name. Like, do you know me? I'm like, never seen you before in my life, man. But yeah, so refresh my memory, and I will remember you. Just if you could tell me what we were talking about last. If it was about a game I was playing, were we talking about a game I was playing? Because I'm on my gaming channel doing my programming right now. Or were we talking about the game I'm programming, which is what I'm programming right now? Oh, yeah. Well, I mentioned the fact that I'm looking for a job a lot, but I do think I remember. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I'm starting to remember a little bit more. It's coming back to me some. We talked about game security, huh? You mean like you mean like keeping people from cheating kind of security, or security like uh, keeping people from stealing your code kind of security? All right, let's see here. How do I want to do this? I kind of like this setup. What I do like about the fact that the team one does is it compresses this a lot better, making this a little bit easier to manage. I think I may do something similar. Oh, anti-cheat, yeah. There's a, did you know, in fact, who was it? There's a couple of companies that have started to implement, I guess, what they call kernel level anti cheat. I don't know how that works. I mean, I guess it depends on what they're doing to cheat, right? I mean, it's like, there's like, okay, so if you're doing a GPS game, the way a lot of people cheat is they put in these what do they call them, a location spoofers. So they basically make the GPS think you're moving, and so you can cheat and just sit at home and play Pokemon Go or or movement, any type of movement game that allows to be lazy and sit around on your couch and still go around doing stuff throughout wherever. And those kind of that's a different, that's one kind of and the cheating way. And then there's the that's the way the common guy might cheat on a GPS. But some of the more advanced cheaters actually break down, look at code, and tweak files and tweak data, and they get in there and they start screwing with your source stuff. Now that's the kind that's really bad, right? I mean, I'd be glad to take a look. I mean, who knows? It comes down to what companies are looking for and whether or not they think my skills meet their needs. Um, it's been quite the thing. But hey, if you want to give me a referral, I'll be glad to reach out and see what they have. I mean, you'll have to let me know. Go to my Discord, let me know the company name, and I'll go check it out and see what's out there and see what they've got for a for a developer of my ilk. Um, I have been pretty much trying for just about every job. Honestly, you know, the dream is to figure out how to get my game funded and continue to work on this and just be able to do that. But I have to have a prototype, which, by the way, I'm hoping to have my first prototype. I know. I mean, most company jobs are not, right. I mean, sadly, there's just not that many game dev jobs out there. And to be truthfully honest, or realistically, to be honest, realistically, it is not practical. These are way too many adverbs there to expect. I'm not that big of a game developer, right? I mean, I'm learning how to develop games and doing all this stuff, and I'm probably pretty good at the logic behind the scenes. But game developers are expected to know graphics, and so my forte is the logic. Oh, seriously? You're working at Mongo, huh? Hey, you know, my database on this application is Mongo. I don't know much about Mongo other than the fact that I am using it as my database source. My entire this is the applications database that I'm using right here. It's Mongo. And so you're working at Mongo database, huh? See, that's the thing. Let's see, what kind of skills would I have that meet Mongo that would be useful in Mongo? I'm very good at SQL Server, but that is not Mongo. That's a totally different kind of database. So, I mean, Mongo is a NoSQL database, so it's like that's totally different. I think there are interfaces though that you can put over the top of Mongo to allow you to write SQL, but it's a totally different database. And I am not, I'm by no means an expert in it, but I don't know, and I don't know. What languages do they use to write Mongo? Is that probably like JavaScript? What is Mongo database written in? I would think it's like Java or C++. I guess it could be at the lower end, but I feel like it's a Java-based database. I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing. I'm not really a Java programmer either, so. But hey, who knows what companies like Mongo are looking for in their database group. Hey, did you know Ozzy Osbourne died? I didn't know that. Wow. I mean, there's a thing on MSN front page. It says he died. 76. It's the data architect. Let's see what data architect. MongoDB's mission to empower innovators. MongoDB who? 3 years experience building data models to support structured and semi-structured product data, including telemetry. Highly proficient in SQL. I am pretty proficient in SQL, like very proficient in SQL. But I don't know MQL very well. It's kind of interesting. They want highly proficient in SQL for a Mongo database company. That's interesting. Huh. Partner with product owners, stakeholders, validate, and it says MongoDB query language knowledge a plus. I have been trying to learn the Mongo query language. Well, okay, I don't even know if it's the Mongo query language. I know it's a JavaScript based. Okay, so I have these what do you call it? Mongo playgrounds. Oh, it's probably not going to be in there. I don't have them on that page. They're based at the simulator level. So Mongo has these playgrounds that you can code in. I don't use the MongoDB container, whatever it's called, Mongo, what is it? Compass. I do use it sometimes when I really want to focus, but I tend to like to stay in my code environment. So there should be some playgrounds here. When it gets around to loading them, it's thinking about it. There you go. So this, I think this is the Mongo query language. Of course, I may not. Like I said, I'm learning it, but it's a pain. It's a pain to learn it because it's just a different thing. Because you write these, and this is codular. So I don't know if this is the Mongo query language or not because it's written as a code call. So these are JavaScript calls to Mongo. So I don't know what the Mongo query language is. I just know that this is how it's called in code. So it's interesting. I'd have to look through these. Fully ramped in 3 months, you'll have fully ramped with our business and data team. 6 months, you'll have delivered at least one fully documented data model that provides value to the business. You'll have delivered multiple data models across a variety of use cases and are comfortable working with all aspects of our internal data platform. Implement data security standards for data access. Are any of these, are your jobs remote, man? Where is this? Because some of these are like in Dublin and New York, and I guess there is one in Seattle here. That's where I'm at. See, I'm near Seattle anyway. But mostly these are in different countries and places. Senior cloud security engineer. I am not a huge cloud expert either. I guess let's see. They have apply, recruiter conversation, technical interview, technical assessments, director VP interview, job offer. Depends on team. Well, let's see. I'm going to go click on this New York City one just because I want to see what it says about remote. Interest in building a career, MongoDB, create alert, autofill with green. Various platform cross. It's no one leading organization like something. Trust MongoDB. MongoDB is a company. 3 years experience data models. Pretty much the same thing. Validate success measures to drive personal growth. Voluntary MongoDB provides base salary range for this role in the U.S. is 76 to 149,000. Well, more than I'm making now. So I can't complain. May not be as much as I've made in the past, but it's way more than I'm making now. Anything that's not zero is more than I'm making now. A lot of data architect positions. And they all pretty much ask for the same thing. Highly proficient in SQL and Mongo query language is a plus. I should apply, just stick it out there. See what's going on. I say I'm really good at SQL because I was really good at SQL. but it's been over a year now and I've been working in Mongo and I don't know how much I'm, until you put yourself to the test and have to rewrite you start going back to it. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Anyway, one of the things I've been working on here, let's get back to my game. I keep saying focus, focus, focus. One of the things I need to figure out, I keep redesigning in my head, right? So it's like I'm doing it this way, but then I'm asking myself, is this the most efficient way to do this? Is this in the long term going to support my end goal, right? So the first step of getting my players into the system is bring the stats into the game. Those stats, then I read all of the players from those stats, and those become the players that are going to go in my game. And then I have to create their skills, and each player gets all of their skills based on all of the stats. But the way I was doing it, and the way I've been building all these skills, is I created these stat files and these skill files. These are the stat files, which are basically, I can go read whatever stat I want from the system based on a map. That's what all this stuff is here. These are all my mappings. So it's going to go read the files I imported from Excel spreadsheets, basically, and it turned them into basically into JSON files in the Mongo database. In the Mongo database, I'm reading out rushing attempts, and then, well, this is the title of the object, and this is the page level question, I'll call it, and then the specific stat piece. So it reads through, finds where the category is this, and reads the stat. And then I have skills that are calling for these stats to be used, and it just pulls that back and uses the value in the skill set. Then I started thinking, maybe that's not the best way to do this. I mean, ultimately, maybe the first time I do it this way is fine, because I need to define all of the skills I want to use in the system. So I'm basically just going out, grabbing all the bits and parts and pieces, and making sure I have all my skills built, and therefore having all the stats available. And that means the mappings will be complete. And then what I'm thinking is, maybe every time after that, I no longer read from those stats. I want to read specifically from the in-game stats, or from the in-game player stats table. So what I'm thinking is, I import all those specific stats, all of these, into a separate table. Instead of just, in this way, every time I pull in new season's worth of stats, I could just drop them into that table. I would still have to do a mapping where I map to the table, but what that'll allow me to do is have a singular source of truth, right? So for my mapping, so I don't have to create a 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, because my data sources are different. Because ultimately, I'm going to have to come up with the most efficient way to put in more years of players. I want players from every single year from 2009 to 2025 or 26, and however far I decide to take this. But stat pages and stat information is going to change. There's going to be different mappings for each one. So each season is going to take a little time to get that particular piece of data. So I have to get the same data every year so that I can build the players all the same. And I'm pretty sure all of it will exist, but it's not all going to exist in the same format and same titling, same functions. If I get it from different source, I will have to figure out a new way to map. Now, ideally, the true ideally is that I could connect to or somehow read a source data file and not have to create data files like an Excel spreadsheet. And then I can just go, oh, let's just go out and read this, pull the data into my tables, and be done with it. You know, I could pull in multiple years and whatever. I could just go read it. Now, they know there's a couple of sources of NFL data you can get. One of them is, I want to say is it Python? I think it's a Python data source. And supposedly pretty robust. I kind of looked at it. I found it kind of confusing to read, and I couldn't. Like, for example, it had individual game stats all the way across the board. And then, so you see a lot of these things like receptions 11 to 20. It doesn't have that. But what it has is all the receptions. So you would create this, okay, give me all the receptions that went for this many yards or that. So you basically would have to build all these ranges. 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 plus. And you just say, grab all the ones that are in here, all the ones that are in there, each grouping, and then you just sum them up and throw them in. So it's a bigger process, though it allows you a lot more flexibility, because basically they just have everything, and then you just go pull what you need, in theory. Assuming you know how to write Python, which I don't, which I will have to learn if I want to use that. That, I think, I want to say that's a free option. The other option is to go pay for stats. And then that could be its own set of problems, right? It's money. And they may or may not have all the stats you want. They may have most of them, potentially all of them, but I don't know in what format. Ultimately, the goal is to come up with a way to pull in all the stats for all these players consistently, year in, year out, for as many years as possible. And ideally, if I could just, do something like I connect straight to the data source and have my stuff just go, oh, let's pull in 2009, let's pull in 2010, let's pull in 2011, and it just reads and reads and reads, because basically I'm just filtering off of that data source. That would be sweet. That would be the ultimate, right? Because then I can get stuff in really fast. But if you've noticed, I have quite a few stats, hundreds of stats that I'm using throughout this game that are going to go out and pull various pieces of information to build up all of the skills. I may only have ultimately about 30 or 40 skills, but those skills are built off of 3 or 4 or 5 different other skills. And some of those individual stats are built off of a combination of other stats, just because, it's pulling stuff together. So it's going to be kind of a thing. So I don't want to I don't want to have to try to, if I can avoid remapping every single year's worth of data, which means if I can, instead of trying to create skills, it's like right now, this says, it's not even sorted by year, but theoretically this would be like year 2009. This is my 2009 stats data, right? And then I would have to do another page that says 2010, 2011, or whatever, any year that data is going to change in format. I have to redo all these mappings, and then have my functions would have to pass a year when you fetch them. So you see here, it's like get stat. And I say rush 10 plus yards gained. I would have to provide a year here, so it would go get the correct mapping so that it pulls the right stat. And ultimately, that's kind of where I'm headed. But if I can get this down to where I don't have to do it by year that way, I mean, I may have to do it by year anyway, now that I think about it. But that's not necessarily because for the same reason. I don't want to have separate mappings. What I would like to do is have all these skills pulled straight from a database that's already got all the skills. I think I'm doing this now just so that I can build all my skills up. And then I'm going to have all these values just simply be a straight read from the database. So I will have a Mongo table. So these are my stats data. What I'll have is like player data or player, I don't know, player game stats or something. And then what that'll have is every one of these values, points, extra points made, extra points attempted, all these values would be in the table with this stat already in there. And then I just read straight from the database table. And whenever I import new data, I just drop it in there, and my stats can be regenerated for every year, every set of players, just reading straight from the table. And I don't have to change any functions or anything. They just say, okay, well, we're just going to read this data. If I'm doing 2008, 2009, 2010, whatever, I could just have it generate those players or regenerate those players along the way. So one of the things that my stats will do, I'm creating a function. And this is one of the things that was kind of holding me up the other day, is I have this scalar function. Okay, so this scaling, what this does is it makes all the players, it makes them all balance within each other, right? So if one guy's got a whatever my stat value is, be it number 0 to 1, it could be 0.1, 0.2, 0.5. I mean, it just depends on what the divisions and functions I'm using. Sometimes it could be numbers that are 23 to 19. Who knows? I mean, whatever the end math is, it takes those values and it scales them within a range. So that means like I can make everybody in every one of these scales math to a range of 25 to 99, with 25 being the bottom, because some play, I don't believe anybody's a zero, right? I mean, these guys are all in the NFL. They all have some skill. You can put a linebacker in at quarterback. Now, he's going to have the skills of terrible, but he's probably, I mean, there's probably some linebackers who, if you put them out on a field with a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of flag football guys, he could probably out quarterback all of them, because he's probably skilled in stats. I mean, sometimes some of these quarterbacks probably couldn't throw for their life, but some of them might, because they're just talented. Maybe they played quarterback in Pop Warner or something. Who knows? But I'm just saying that there's these guys are all athletes capable of doing various different things, and so they will have a base that says gives them credit for that. This also allows for people to do things like subbing in players at any position. If you want to have your defensive nose tackle playing wide receiver, hey man, go for it. It's probably not the wisest thing to do, but it is an option. Maybe if I can do some, at once the game is built, this setup will allow me to do things like maybe start spending more time on the player setups. I got 2 today? What the heck? I just complained, and now I went from missing 1 to having 2. Huh. What is this? Okay, so these, I'm so confused at the moment. All right, so the backs of these are totally different. Okay, so this is my first ever subscription with for any comic in the history of my life. And I put it on it was on my wish list for Christmas, because it started right before Christmas. It's Superman. I am a huge Superman fan, and yes, I have seen the movie, and yes, I did like it. In fact, I liked it better than most the Henry Cavill's movies by a fair amount. I just think he's just way more Superman-y, and it was, like they say, a lot more like the comics. Just felt more comic booky. And I think he was a good Superman. I think he did a good job. Was he the best? Well, the movie was good. I mean, I don't know if he was the best. He just felt more like a Superman, like Superman. Henry Cavill felt like a, I don't know, cranky superhero of some kind. I don't know. Always mad. Okay, this is 9. Oh, okay, so I got 9. I just got 8 last week. They are so screwed up over there. I got 8 last week, and so I wrote them and complained because they never sent 7. So here's 9. So now I've got 8, 9. I still don't have a 7, unless that's what this is. Because I did complain, not once, but twice, that they didn't send 7. And they go, well, it takes up to 4 months for the U.S. Post Office, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what? 4 months? I gotta wait 4 months? Kevin actually sent 7. So now I've got 3 to read. 6, 7. I read 6 already. 6, 7, 8, and 9. This is Absolute Superman. It just started last year, and it's an interesting take on Superman. It's definitely a different perspective, but it's done pretty good so far. They actually took his life is different. I mean, he did know the Kents, but not in the same way. I mean, he kind of left them. He left because there were people coming after him, and he didn't want him to get hurt. So anyway, and he's pretty young. He's like a teenager almost in this, but just way powerful. And his cape is actually sentient, which is interesting. That's a whole nother thing. But it's a pretty good series. So now I have a lot to read. Something I'll take with me on my trip. I haven't even finished War World yet, which I'm about 60% of the way through. It's a good book. I don't read very often. I'm an Audible guy, but you can't do comics through Audible. I mean, you could, maybe. They may have something like that, but it would be lame because the whole point is to read the comic, just to look at the comic. It's pictures. Gotta have your pictures when you read, right? I mean, if you're gonna be looking at a book, the least they can do is entertain you while you're looking at it, right? Not just words. All right. I guess I could write them and go, hey, guess what? It finally showed up. Thank you. I still think it's weird that 9 showed up. I did not expect 9 here. Because now we're like ahead of the game. Because it started in October last year, or November. I think the first issue was actually November, December. And now 7 would be 9, right? So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So that's 7, 8, 9. So yeah, that's 9. I had to buy 1, 2, and 3. Actually, 1 and 2 were given to me as gifts, part of the subscription. 3 just didn't fall into the subscription range because it takes them forever to send stuff. So I had to buy 3 myself. And then the other ones I've been getting. But I'm not terribly fond of the service because, well, look, I mean, I go from not getting 1 for 3 months, and then all of a sudden I get 3 out of order. Got 7. I got 6, 8, 9, 7. Ugh. Anyway, back to task. Anyway, so what I'm trying to accomplish here is I have this scale value to range. Allows me to set every player in a range. So what I'll probably do is have every one of these skills of mine come back in a range of some number to 99. Probably 25 to 99 just to have a base. So everybody will be sort of at the bottom or somewhere in between. And I could 0 to 99 it, but I don't want people to be zeros. I don't feel like anybody should be a 0. Or maybe certain types of positions would be lower than others. Like I might say, see, QB would be hard, right? I mean, QB, anybody could be bad at QB. If you can't throw a football, it doesn't matter who you are. You're probably going to suffer, right? But if you can throw a football, then maybe you can be a QB. All you have to do is be able to throw a football with some semblance of accuracy to be a quarterback. You might be a bad quarterback, but you could still be a QB. If you can't throw the ball at all, you probably are like a nothing. You could actually be a 5 or 10 at QB. But certain other positions, like for example, anybody could play linebacker. It doesn't. The question is, can you tackle? So wide receivers, who tend to be smaller and tinier, might be worse at a linebacker position. So they might not be as good at tackling. Maybe you don't give them as good credit. But a running back, fullback, any offensive lineman, they could all probably play linebacker. They just may not be as good at it as an actual linebacker. QB, you can put them in a linebacker if you want. Put them in at nose tackle. Let's see how that goes. They're probably like receivers, right? It's not really their forte. They're probably going to get beat up and smashed up, but you could throw them in there, and you never know. Maybe something. So the base logic I'm trying to come up with is potential. How potential on my game is going to work versus potential on other people. I don't know how it works for others. The way Retro Bowl does it is it basically tells potential is an exact number. And all it refers to is how far your guy can go experience-wise. So if you keep him on your team and he gets experience, he's going to eventually hit that number. And that's as far as he goes. He does not get to go farther unless I forgot there's some things like if they get a certain level of fatigue, they get high. It's weird. It's got some weird things that you can actually get a little bit better, but it's only temporary. It's like I don't know, like a motivation thing. I don't know. So some games use potential as that. All potential means is throughout the point of your career, you're going to grow, and bam, you're going to hit your potential. Assuming you train in those areas. I don't know how all those games work. Some of them, maybe you get all of them. Eventually, you get a little bit of each. Maybe your skill, your experience, whatever you're doing, just naturally grows in every area. And some you hit a little faster because your potential says you got this, and you get less there, but you're going to grow, and eventually you get to everywhere, right? You get all your potential. Makes it a hard-coded value, and it's kind of guaranteed if your player plays long enough. My game's not going to be like that, nor is potential a fixed value. What potential is in my game is a little bit more dynamic. There are things that will affect how your player can perform. Potential, though, is not a locked value. So if you're growing quickly in a particular area, your potential may be higher than they thought. It's like a player theoretically can be better than their potential. Somebody goes like, okay, a 6th round pick generally is thought of as not having as high a potential. We don't expect much out of this guy. Because that's really all it is, right? It's expectations. It's all potential is. It's like, what do you think this guy's going to do? I don't know. He might be able to contribute a little bit. But then in the real world, sometimes you get a guy like Terrell Davis, 6th round pick, who, of course, I'm going to use a Bronco as an example. And he's also the one that kind of comes to mind as a late pick success. Every now and then you get a guy who's just going to light things up, ends up being a Hall of Famer, and just produces significantly throughout his career and ends up becoming really good. So he hit way beyond his potential. Everybody said for him, his potential was higher, and that might have been a lot of factors. It could have been he played for a good team. He could have just, maybe he just figured it out. You never know what that is, but ultimately this is all. And then there's the guys who have a sky high potential, right? 1st round draft pick. You're expecting this dude to come in. He has no stats, no bearings of anything in the NFL. Played well in college, but so do all the other draft picks. You bring him in. He's got a sky high potential. And yeah, he fails. He's just can't seem to find the magic bullet. He just nothing. Flames out, disappears, and that happens. That's kind of what I'm trying to build. My potential is a nebulous thing that's going to have certain driving factors that allow it to solidify into actual skill as time goes on. So yes, a player who's having a good year, which by the way is in the terms of this game, a little random, but success breeds more success. Success breeds confidence, breeds morale, builds cohesion, builds all those positive factors that just make a team start to go good. And that also means that the player can do better. So as they get more momentum and more success, they have a better shot at reaching those potential numbers. You could theoretically reach potential in the first couple of years of your play if things go well, right? Potentials, it's kind of like where they expect you to peak. So if they think you're going to peak at being able to, at 700 yards a season for your career, not very good, but as a running back, it's good, but it's pretty average. You suddenly start running for 1,000 yards, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000, who knows what it is. You suddenly break out. And is that because you had a great offensive line? Who knows what the reasoning is, but ultimately it starts to feed into your psyche, and you start playing really well. But what if you get traded? Somebody goes, "Oh, this guy did really good, but it's because we built this." This was the Broncos' old after Terrell Davis. They they decided they were just the ultimate offensive line. They felt their offensive line was the reason all their players were good. So they had Mike Anderson and Alandis Gary. I want to say Alandis Gary, something like that. And then they had a couple of guys that were 1,000-yard plus rushers, and they trade them away the next year. And then they would go, Clinton Portis. Clinton Portis actually did okay when he left Denver, but a lot of these guys left and went to other teams, and they were mediocre. They did okay. They were good, but not as good as they were when they played for Denver. And so Denver got this in their head that, we can just cycle. We can build up a running back and ship them off, and they'll go play for someone else, and we'll just keep building. We'll just keep making running backs look good, and we don't have to pay them. Well, that proved wrong, or eventually it proved insufficient, because not only that, a lot of their offensive linemen started retiring, getting hurt, whatever, and their offensive line kind of went downhill. And they couldn't find a running back anymore who was able to do anything with what they had. And even the better running backs that they brought in, who had flashes of good, just couldn't get through their crappy offensive line. So it's a kind of a combination, right? You got to have both. It doesn't matter. Having a good running back is only going to get you so far if you have a terrible offensive line, and vice versa. A great offensive line cannot make a great running back out of a guy who doesn't know how to be a running back. Unless it's Barry Sanders. I will always bring up Barry Sanders. Now, there are the guys who've had great seasons on bad teams, but it's rare. It's just hard to be. The reason Barry Sanders was able to succeed on a team that was generally just considered bad is just the way he ran. He just made everybody miss. So many of these running backs that are downhill runners that are really good, really strong, they rely on a good offensive line. A good offensive line kind of makes those holes, and then they're good enough to knock the chaff off. They go through, and people can't one-arm tackle them, and the offensive line is making it so they're all one-arm tackles or dives or whatever. They can't get a hold of the guy because their line is blocking for them. Terrell Davis had a great offensive line, and I think although he had the good moves and he was able to shift and he had speed and was able to make those things work, I don't think he would have been as successful without the offensive line that Denver had. There was just that kind of thing. He was a great runner for what kind of team he was on. Barry Sanders, I don't know what. I mean, he would have ran for 3,000 yards if he would have had some of the if he would have had the Broncos offensive line when they were at their peak, and Barry Sanders was playing for him at his peak. He would have rushed for 3,000 yards. He would have just seen he would have just lit up the world, man. It would have just been, I don't know what would have happened if Barry Sanders ended up on a great offensive line team, a great offensive team, a team with a great quarterback. The amount of yards he could have broke, he might have been the first running back to go over 20,000 yards. He would have just smoked it. And that kind of, what do you call it? Perfection, that kind of star alignment just doesn't happen very often. Have you noticed that? I mean, look at the Broncos back in the early 2010s. Peyton Manning blew the doors off of every passing record in the league. Denver could not be stopped. They were averaging 30 plus something yards a game. They were just raking up the yards. Teams would get small leads, and then Denver would just smoke them. I mean, it was just an embarrassment of riches on offense. But their defense was a little suspect. But it didn't matter. They scored so many freaking points. They just blew everything up. And their defense was, not so great. And the next year, they were almost as good. I mean, their offense was dominant, but their defense still kind of But then Denver reloaded on defense. They built everything up. They kind of shipped some guys out. Offense kind of went down a little bit. Then Denver had this amazing defensive machine. But again, having having both a great offense and a great defense. I mean, we're talking, I don't know the last time a Super Bowl winner or even the top 5 teams ever had, if any of them have ever had number one offense, number one defense, number one rushing, number one passing, number one run defense, number one pass defense. I mean, it's just so hard to be that good at everything. That kind of star alignment just doesn't happen. But if it did, the domination a team could exploit on other teams. I mean, even in the undefeated year of the Patriots, they were good, but they weren't the best at everything. They were just better than most. You know, they might have had top 5 everything, and that happens a lot. I think when Denver finally won the Super Bowl, they were like a number 7 offense, number 8 offense, number 1 defense, and pretty much everything. But it's just, you have to be kind of good at everything, but you don't have to be the best. But it would be so nice to see your favorite team just dominate and winning, being the best at everything. Even the Bears, when they had the ultimate defense, their offense was kind of, it was one of those things that just kind of came along for the ride. Their defense crushed everybody. So the dream is the perfect team, and or having a player as good as Barry Sanders, as good as, I mean, like Jerry Rice was amazing, but offensive receivers don't get to dominate. The only players that ever can truly dominate a game in football, there's very few, are maybe like a quarterback. Obviously, quarterbacks have their hands on the ball every single play on offense. A running back, yes, can dominate a game. It's rare to see it happen anymore because teams don't give them chances, but they touch the ball a lot. They're involved a lot. And if they're that good, they can do amazing things. They have just more opportunities to do miraculous, amazing things. Hi, Karama. How's it going, man? Whereas on defense, again, there was Deion Sanders, a couple of Champ Bailey, some great defenders over time, but those are CBs. And although they can have a strong effect on a game, they can't dominate a game by themselves. Now, linebackers and maybe defensive ends, they can wreak some havoc themselves. They can do enough that just totally wrecks another team because of what they're capable of if they are having that kind of a season. I remember Von Miller and Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor's way back when. But I'm just throwing out names that come to mind. But Nick Chubb. And there's just been a couple of really amazing offensive or defensive linemen that could just, or linebackers, both, that could just wreck a team. They just come in and they're all over the quarterback. He can never run. They're stifling. They take out the running backs because they're just in the backfield all the time. These guys are just on another level, and they can dominate a game. But football is really hard to become successful without success on both sides of the ball, and there's very few players out there historically that have ever played both sides of the ball to any level of success. I mean, Deion Sanders played both sides a couple of times, but he wasn't like the greatest receiver ever. He was a guy who could catch and be a receiver, but he wasn't like, 100 yards receiving and 100 yards and 50 passes defended and just dominating everything. No. It's, for one, it's physically taxing to play both sides of the ball, so you can only do so much. But it's really all about, having 22 guys in the field, and you need to have probably half of those on both sides of the ball be very, very good and doing their job and being successful. And the other guys just can't be screwing up. You need 5 guys or 6 guys that are solid and not making mistakes, and 5 or 6 guys that are just beasts. And hopefully those are key position players, and then you can probably be pretty successful. But if you can get the holy grail of combinations, that's when it's awesome to watch. Individuals especially. Great QB, Joe Montana with Jerry Rice, and you think of quarterback, Steve Young and Jerry Rice, and uh, who was it that used to throw to Chris Carter? I mean, you just have all these great players that when they paired up with other people, like Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning, or Marvin Harrison and did who was it that played with? I can't remember another Colt. Of course, Dan Marino had his guys. I mean, there were just some amazing combinations out there over the years, and those are when things just are really cool to watch. Two guys that just wreak havoc on their opposition, offensively and defensively. I mean, you get two or three key linebackers out there, and they're just dominant, and they're just sacking the other team, and they're doing insane amounts of damage. And teams are afraid, and they're double teaming, and you can't double team two or three guys because there's not enough players on the field. It's just crazy talk. So anyway, I know I'm distracted. Let's get back to it. Let's see if I can get these done. I know I keep saying I'm going to get these done today, and I may not. All right, so team defense. Nope, I need not team defense. Individual defense. That's what I need. All right. So I have these special, which I'm not. I have special tackle, special assists, and you can see it's very small. I don't even know if I'm going to keep those. It is. Ooh, this guy has a lot. Yeah, hmm. That's actually quite a bit comparatively. I mean, Quincy Black. These must be guys who played mostly on special teams. 10. That's like the most. Quincy Black was quite the tackler on special teams. I don't know what the heck miscellaneous tackles are. Miscellaneous tackles are like what? I mean, it's 264 guys that made tackles, I guess. Individual defense. What is this? Oh, this is just nothing. So all these stats I have are not fully used by my game, obviously. I'm just trying to decide the value of. I think I'm just going to go total and miss total because I don't really want to spend too much time with those. I'm not going to worry about the individual breakdowns of those skills, tackles. I have to have total because oh no, what is this? Because it implies that I don't have I'm not doing the assists. They're like, I should just call this total tackles. There is actually a value for total tackles. Total tackles, and then I can just do. Unless I'm gonna do total tackles. So sacks are not included in your tackles, which is interesting, right? I mean, I could do a total tackles plus sacks, but I'm just going to use this value here. Oh, you know what? This is long. This would probably be total. Tackle. Now the question is, do I do a combo where I include the I believe stuffs are considered part of a tackle or assist. How many of those are sacks? But sacks are like another type of tackle. So it's like we have total tackles 59. So you can see I have this number here. I have let's make this bigger. So you have total tackles, which is the combination of tackles plus assists, but it does not include sacks or stuffs. But stuffs in themselves are not tackles. They are just a type of tackle. So these are these. You know, just had 6 stuffs. Stuffs are tackles for a lot. And then how many yards did they stuff them for? Which is, you know, that's pretty good. Sean Phillips had made the other team lose 20 yards on his 6 stuffs, but he only made them lose 12. He had 6.5 tries. So he made people lose, but this guy, he must be kind of quick, right? Because if he's getting a lot of yards, it means he's chasing guys down in the backfield. That's actually a pretty good indicator of speed. Good for measuring like the speed of maybe defensive linemen who normally don't get a chance to prove their speed. So if you can get a lot of defensive stuff yards, that implies to me a somewhat of amount of speed. So I probably should include that in my speed measurements of players. And I don't think that I am right now. I think my speed measurement doesn't include that. Sometimes you can look at it as there's a difference between speed and quickness. Quickness is their ability to explode or come off the line quickly. Like they might be able to cover 7 yards in, you know, fractions of a second or two, but maybe they're not that fast. Maybe after those 7 yards, they've blown they're kind of like nitrous, right? Boom! They're launching out there. They got that lightning quick nitrous oxide kaboom. But once that's gone, they're down to like, whatever. Whereas some cars may not have nitrous, but they can blow away, right? So the nitrous guy, on your marks, get set, go. At a quarter mile, nitrous guy is kicking butt. At a half mile, nitrous guy is out of juice, and Lamborghini guy is cruising right by him. So there's your Lamborghini speed, and then there's your dragster speed, right? They're gonna run out of juice at some point. You would not race a dragster against a Lamborghini for more than a mile, or maybe 2 miles. I don't know what the limit is, because the dragster is probably going to run out of fuel because it goes through like 10,000 gajillion pounds of fuel or whatever it is. And they don't. It's not a real race. He's just the muscle head, the dragsters. Dragsters are cool though. I don't even know. You don't see them too. I mean, I guess there's still drag races out there, but I always thought they were one of the coolest looking cars. They have one purpose: straight line in as little time as possible for a quarter mile. And they're built like darts. Just this really pointy, no weight in the front, all the weight's in back. And then they take off and their nose just kind of I don't even know how they keep their nose down. They must have some kind of like I don't know how they do it. I don't know how dragsters work. But because you would think they'd flip over with so little weight up front. So did Ozzy Osbourne perform in a wheelchair? They're showing an image of him sitting in a wheelchair here, and I'm like, he just did a Black Sabbath show. How did he? Was he in a wheelchair while he did it, or does he like force himself to stand for? I mean, he's passed away now, but I was just curious because I saw him sitting in a wheelchair. Okay. Um. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Let's go ahead and blah blah blah. Let me split screen this. I mean, I can. Let's go ahead and. This doesn't. I don't want to close this, but how do I minimize it? Is there not like a minimize? Nope. Right, so closing it is. All right. Oh, by the way, hey, if you're out there, anybody who's still there, does is this pretty readable? Because I'm using my smaller resolution, lower resolution monitor, just so that the fonts would be bigger, rather than my doing it on my 4K, which makes everything tiny. And although I can see it because it's a big monitor, I know it doesn't translate well. It turns into fuzzy. So let me know if things look okay for readability purposes. Okay, so this one I can close, and we're going to go back here, and we're going to get total tackles. Hit SP tote tackles. Tackle. And there's this thing, which is just do I have this multiple places? Where's your complaint? Okay, it doesn't like this, but somehow it likes this. I have no idea why. Oh, I did capital P. I get it. All right. Total tackles, which are sacks, regular tackles. SP is special, or I call them special teams. So that's what ST is. Miscellaneous tackles. That's total tackles. Replace with your actual formula, which is just total tackles. You know what? I should probably include stuffs in there somehow, huh? I may also want to include my special. I just created a function for my games played formulas. Now, normally for some things, it's bad to be less played, right? Other things, it's kind of a handicap, which I don't feel is fair. The thing is, what I don't see as fair. What if you're a play specialist? You're a guy who's maybe injury prone, so they only put you in every so often. Now, it's a disadvantage in my availability profile or skill. Every player's got an availability skill. Now, these are players that have been injured. I mean, everybody has an availability skill, even the players that play all the time. But they have a lower fatigue, a lower likelihood of injury. They're more likely to be able to stick around because I also have that allows things to balance out. So you may have a guy who's got pretty decent stats, but maybe he didn't start most of the season. Maybe he was hurt a lot of the season. So what'll end up happening is I'll give them some credit for the times when they didn't start, but played. And if they didn't play at all, then that's part of the logic that's going to hurt them. But ultimately, the idea is that they have their availability is low, but their skills could still be high. So you know this guy is a sack monster, but he gets hurt a lot. He's got a lot of injuries. Maybe his availability for that season is pretty bad. He's got like high chances of injury, high chances of fatigue, the kind of things that wear him out. So maybe you learn to play him sparingly. All features and functionality I want to give to this game where you can give a player some play just for the sake of getting him in the game because you want him to have a better shot. Maybe he's got high skills, but every time he steps on the field, he's risking injury. But I want to be able to do stuff like that. Have players be assigned. Maybe players are assigned to certain plays, or players are assigned to certain downs. That's my goal. Some of that stuff is kind of coming later because let's just get the game working, and then I can start tweaking and adding in cool little extra stuff. And this also allows you to maybe you want to try your rookie out every now and then. So you're going to have this one special play you wrote up for your rookie that you put into games for this situation and that scenario. So he comes in and he gets to play on those plays and maybe build up some success. That's kind of what I want to do. I want to start having my game plan have player assignments, but we'll work on that. Okay, so the tackle skill is your total tackles in relation to your team tackles. Of all the tackles your team had, because it's really hard. Let's see, do I have, okay, there's team. So I have sacks. So do I just go by plays? How many times or how many plays are in the game? Because sacks are tackles. And you can also tackle the receiver when they catch the ball. So, all right, team tackles equals team stats, get total tackles player team. And we'll take the team tackle. Oh, okay, hold on just a moment. Okay, sorry about that. That was a slight detour. I'm gonna restart my stream now. Let's finish this up. It's almost 2 o'clock. I've let's dump this last chunk